What is up, everybody? It's JT Sports Match, you guys, with another video. This video, I'm here with my AFC South 2020 NFL draft grade. Is going to be draft or grading all the other teams in the AFC South's draft. And before I get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because I upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. And at this point in the off season, it's really a struggle for most people to find content to make videos about and post about, but not me. I think I have some of the best off-season videos on YouTube. So if you're interested in more NFL content and in-depth off-season videos about all the teams in the NFL, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. So the first team is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they selected C.J. Henderson with their first round selection, ninth overall. And I had C.J. Henderson mocked to Jacksonville Jaguars in like several mock drafts. And for some reason, I got absolutely killed by Jacksonville Jaguars fans who kept saying that C.J. Henderson at number 9 was a reach. And it didn't really make a lot of sense to me because if you follow the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I do, even though I'm not a Jaguars fan, but I live in the Jacksonville Jaguars proximity. I live in the city of Duval. You would know that the Jacksonville Jaguars over the last couple of years have drafted very heavily out of the University of Florida. So I thought it made a lot of sense since the Jacksonville Jaguars love drafting players from the University of Florida and the fact that they needed a cornerback since they got rid of Jalen Ramsey midway through the 2019 NFL season and they traded away AJ Boye at the start of the off season to the Denver Broncos. I thought it was just common sense that they would just go ahead and select CJ Henderson, who was the second best cornerback in this draft class, who was not really that far off from as good as Jeffrey Okudah is. Now, for CJ Henderson, the only knock on CJ Henderson is the fact that people say that he can't tackle at all, which I can see why people say that. He has a tendency to be a little bit of an ankle biter. And for those of you guys who don't know what an ankle biter is, it's basically somebody who doesn't really put that much effort in wrapping up. Basically, somebody who just dives at the legs or dives at somebody's ankles. Just to say that they tried to attempt to tackle. I even saw a couple of scouts that even said, and there's kind of reports that said that he literally chooses when he wants to tackle. Now, obviously, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, if you want to play cornerback for the Jaguars, you got to be able to tackle. So I don't really think tackling is going to be that big of an issue. Here's all that the Jacksonville Jaguars got to do. When training camp begins, you line C.J. Henderson up, right? You make him run head over Leonard Fournette. You make him run head over Leonard Fournette for about the next couple of weeks throughout training camp, right? Until he gets the desire that he wants to tackle. You just make him keep running Oklahoma drills over and over again until he gets better at tackling. So that's how I fix that problem there. That's how I learned to tackle. So the next selection they had in the first round, they had the 20th overall selection. They selected Caleb Von Chase, the edge rusher out of LSU. I really like him a lot. I think he fits well with what the Jacksonville Jaguars like out of their edge rushers. He is a freaky, super athletic guy. He can do a lot of things. So I think he fits well with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then they select Laviska Shenault in the second round, 42nd overall, which I thought was a pretty good pick for the fact that Laviska Shenault was a first round caliber wide receiver, but the only reason he dropped out of the first round was due to injury concerns. And I think he's going to fit well with the Jacksonville Jaguars because this guy has basically the body of a halfback. Basically, he's like a halfback playing wide receiver. So I'm expecting a lot of big plays, a lot of yards after catch out of him. And I think he's a guy who can have an impact right away with the Jacksonville Jaguars, which their wide receiving core already isn't that bad. You had DJ Chark, and you got D.D. Westbrook, who had a pretty strong first half of the season last year. So you pair him up with Laviska Shenault and DJ Chark and D.D. Westbrook, I think that wide receiving core is going to be really solid for the Jaguars. Then they selected Davon Hamilton, defensive tackle out of Ohio State in the third round. Then they select Ben Barch, the offensive tackle out of St. John's in round 4. Now, Ben Barch, I think he can play offensive guard as well, so it's going to be interesting to see what position on the offensive line the Jacksonville Jaguars put him at. He can play guard, he can play tackle. It's going to be interesting to see how that develops. And I think he is a plug-and-play guy. I think he should be a day-one starter. Then you also pick up Josiah Scott, cornerback out of Michigan State. He may be a day-one starter. Don't really know. I have to see what he does in training camp and preseason. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up starting for the Jacksonville Jaguars right away for the fact that they weren't able to come to an agreement with cornerback DeQuest Denard. Then he also picked up the hometown kid, Shaquille Quarterman, out of the University of Miami. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Shaq Quarterman played his high school ball at Oak Leaf High School, which is located in Clay County, or aka Orange Park. And basically, Orange Park is basically, I guess you could basically consider Orange Park part of the Jacksonville the Jacksonville area. So he played high school ball at Oakley. So he gets drafted to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which brings him back home, which I think is a really good fit for him. And with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think he has the opportunity to get some playing time. It just depends on how the whole injury situation shakes up. Then you select Colin Johnson, a wide receiver out of Texas. He's a big physical wide receiver. So overall, I'm giving the Jacksonville Jaguars an A. I thought they had one of the better drafts this year, and they pretty much filled all their needs. They filled corner, they filled their need of a edge rusher, cornerback, and linebacker depth. So I mean, I thought they had a pretty good draft. And moving on to the Houston Texans. Now the Houston Texans didn't have a first round pick, even though they should have, but I guess Bill O'Brien was drinking scotch when he traded away DeAndre Hopkins and forgot to ask for a first round pick in exchange for him. So their first round, well, basically their first overall pick of the draft was Ross Blacklock out of TCU, which isn't a bad selection. Ross Blacklock, from a lot of people, had a late first round grade on him. So I think Ross Blacklock is a pretty good pickup for the Houston Texans. Then they get another good selection in the third round. You get edge rusher Jonathan Greenard out of the University of Florida. Now, Jonathan Grenard was basically a highly touted transfer portal pickup from the University of Florida. Well, he transferred from Louisville to the University of Florida, and he was pretty much the best non-quarterback to hit the transfer portal that year. And he had a pretty productive year for the University of Florida. And I'm going to be interested to see if he's going to be able to make an impact right away for the Houston Texans. Then they select offensive tackle Charlie Heck out of the University of North Carolina. Now, I know Houston needs offensive linemen. I don't really know if Charlie Heck should have went that early. I had like a round 6 grade on him. A lot of people had him around that as well, but I guess he provides some more needed depth at that offensive tackle position. He also has a really high IQ because his dad was a former offensive lineman in the NFL as well. So even though I think it was a little bit of a reach, I think it was a well needed reach. They also select John Reed, cornerback out of Penn State, and Isaiah Coulter, wide receiver out of Rhode Island, who I like a lot. So the grade I'm giving the Houston Texans, I'm giving them a B minus. I thought their grade was pretty solid. Well, I thought their draft was pretty solid, so I'm giving them a pretty solid grade, B minus. Now the Indianapolis Colts had another stellar draft. They had trade away their first round selection. And basically, their first pick of the draft was wide receiver Michael Pittman out of USC. Now, when I look at Michael Pittman, I see a lot of Juju Smith-Schuster quality traits. I see a guy who's really strong, really athletic as well. And I think he's a guy who could use a little bit of improvement. I think his route running needs a little bit of work. But I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to find ways to get him involved right away. And you already got Paris Campbell, you got T.Y. Hilton. So I'm interested to see if Michael Pittman ends up being that third wide receiver in that rotation for the Colts this season. Then with the 41st overall pick in the second round, they select halfback Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin. Now, a lot of people were really shocked by this move. They were really trying to understand why the Colts would do this, but it makes a lot of sense because the Colts, although they do have Marlon Mack, they don't have a halfback that could pick up those tough yards like those third and ones or those third and inches or something like that. And that's what Jonathan Taylor's going to be able to do. He is the absolute bruiser. Now, the only knock that a lot of people have on Jonathan Taylor is that he has a fumbling issue. But I mean, I'm not really that concerned when it comes to his ball security at the fact that Wisconsin nearly ran the ball like, 40, 50 times a game. So, I mean, Wisconsin has had a tendency of running their halfbacks down into the dirt early. So I'm not really that concerned about Jonathan Taylor's ball security issues in the NFL because most of the time he's not really going to. I doubt that we see him get 40 carries a game with the Indianapolis Colts with Marlon Mack being in the backfield. So I mean I'm not really that too concerned about his fumbling issues because Wisconsin just runs the ball at an absolutely abnormal rate. Then they also select safety Julian Blackman out of Utah. Then they select quarterback Jacob Eason out of Washington. Now, Jacob Eason was a little bit of a surprise that he was available in the fourth round because a lot of people had like a second or third round grade on him, and I think he's going to be a pretty good replacement when Phillip Rivers decides to retire. And that's going to be interesting to see what they do with Jacoby Brissett. Do you trade him or do you release him? So, really interested to see how that works out. Then they also picked up Desmond Patman, the wide receiver out of Washington State. I thought he was pretty solid. Washington wide receivers that come out of the Michael Leach system normally have pretty good success in the NFL. So I think Desmond Patton's going to have a pretty solid career with the Indianapolis Colts. Now it remains to be seen. Will he be in that fold for that wide receiver 3 mix? or wide receiver 4 mix, that's where the question mark lies with him. So over, I'm giving them an A- grade. Their draft was pretty good. I think they had the second best draft in this division behind the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the last thing we had the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Tennessee Titans, I really like their selections. First, and the 29th overall pick with the first round selection they selected offensive tackle Isaiah Wilson out of the University of Georgia. Now, Isaiah Wilson, I mean, a lot of people talk about his teammate Andrew Thomas, but Isaiah Wilson was pretty good as well. This guy is also big, and he's one of the best, if not the best, run blocking offensive tackle in this draft. And I think it only made sense for the fact that the Tennessee Titans lost Jack Conklin, who was the best run blocking offensive tackle in the NFL. He left for Cleveland, so I thought it was only fair that they select the best run blocking offensive tackle in the draft class to replace him. So then they select Christian Fulton out of LSU in the second round. I was really surprised that Christian Fulton fell out of the first round. I was saying that he was going to end up being a mid-round selection in the first round for a long time. So he ended up falling out. He went to the Tennessee Titans with the second round selection that they had, 61st overall. And he's a smart player. I think he's a really good. He has like a slot corner skill set, but he could probably play outside cornerback as well. So I think that's going to be another good fit. They also select Darrington Evans out of Appalachian State. This guy has some absolute burners on him. I believe they lost Dion Lewis. I believe they let him go. So I think this is a great Dion Lewis replacement. He basically has a similar skill set. This guy is really fast, really shifty. Then they select defensive tackle Laurel Murchison out of NC State University. This guy is fast as a defensive tackle. I mean, this guy reminds me a lot of Javon Hargrave. Then they select quarterback Cole McDonald in the seventh round, which we don't really know if he's going to end up making a roster. I mean, first they're going to have to change that dude's throwing motion because that dude throws the football really ugly. Like, he has one of the most ugliest throwing motions I ever seen. It's like when you go to Madden and you go to all the way back to the old style traditional quarterback releases, like he throws the football like he was playing back in the 60s or the 50s or something like that. So they're going to have to work on that release. And that thing is really, really ugly, and it really affects his accuracy and ball placement. But this dude does have a big arm. I mean, this dude can sling the football. So, I mean, if Tennessee is able to work on his throwing motion and able to improve him as a quarterback overall, I think he'll end up being a pretty solid backup behind Ryan Tannehill, and maybe he could be groomed into a potential starter. So the grade I'm giving Tennessee, I give them a B plus. They have a really solid draft, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think about these draft grades down in the comment section down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.